to Spring Television. Ours it is.
ASU declares indefinite strike action in Taraba State over unpaid salaries. Governors elected on the platform of APC have asked the DSS to arrest and prosecute those planning to install an interim government. Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Timipre Silva, resigned to join Bayelsa gubernatorial race. On the foreign scene, Finland to become 31st member of NATO after Turkey's parliament voted to approve its application. Good evening. This is News at 7 on Western Spring Television. My name is Tunde Ido. The Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU Taraba State University Chapter, has declared a total, comprehensive and indefinite strike action. This follows the permission by the ASU National to the state branch to embark on the strike action to press home its demand and the state government's rebuttal of claims that it is not owing workers' salaries. Arising from a Congress meeting, the union insists that the rationale behind the action is hinged on government's failure to pay earned academic allowances, promotion arrears, fractional payment of salaries to staff, as well as unsettled staff pension and gratuity scheme. The Taraba State University ASU chairman Samuel Shita noted that other reasons for the industrial action includes non-implementation of agreement and perimeter fencing of the institution. Reacting to the strike action, the state government, through the Commissioner for Tertiary Education, Edward Baraya, said the union has not communicated the action to the state government. Also reacting, the special advisor to the governor on media and publicity, Bala Dan Abu, in a press statement, said the outgoing governor is owing no workers' salary. And to politics, governors elected on the platform of the All Progressive Congress APC have asked the Department of State Services DSS to arrest and prosecute those planning to install an interim government. On Wednesday, the secret police said it confirmed a plot by some key players to install an interim government and stop Bola Ahmed Tinubu from being inaugurated as president. A statement signed by the chairman of the forum, Governor Aminu Tambuwal, notes that the governors will do all they can to defend the country's democracy, as the forum will not support any unconstitutional regime change. The governors also condemned the continued delay in refunding the backlog of monies from stamp duties to state, as it promises to explore every available means of getting the refund to states, including going to court. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has issued certificates of return to the governor-elect of Kaduna State, Uba Sani, and his deputy, Hadiza Balarabe. INEC also gave certificates of return to elected members of the State House of Assembly as the winners of the March 18th election. A total of 29 member-elect of the Kaduna State House of Assembly received their certificates during the event, which held at the INEC State Headquarters. Speaking after receiving his certificate of return, the governor-elect appealed to those who contested against him in the March 18th governorship election in Kaduna State to join hands with him towards moving the state forward. Similarly, the governor of Bauchi State, Bala Mohammed, and 31 members-elect of the Bauchi State House of Assembly were presented with certificates of return by INEC today. The Special Assistant to the President on Digital Communications, Bashir Ahmad, has confirmed the resignation of the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Timipre Silva. Ahmad, in a tweet today, stated that the minister stepped down to join the Bayelsa State governorship election scheduled for November 11, 2023. Under the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Silva held office as governor of Bayelsa State between May 2007 and April 2008, when his election was nullified. Then Speaker of the House of Assembly, Werimpre Seibarago, replaced him until a new election led to Silva's re-emergence in May 2008, but in January of 2012, the Supreme Court terminated his administration. After his defection to the All Progressive Congress, he was later appointed by President Muhammadu Buhari as the Nigerian Cabinet Minister of State for Petroleum Resources. In Adamawa State, the Director General of Aishatu Ahmed Binani Governorship Campaign Council, Ahmed Barata, has been suspended by the All Progressive Congress Ward Executives for Ketimberi under Sheleng local government area of the state. The ward executive members today announced the suspension of Barata over alleged anti-party activities and withholding of relief food items sent to party faithfuls by Binani before the elections. The Adamawa APC has recently witnessed a series of suspension orders being issued to some prominent and influential members of the party at their wards. The most prominent being that of Boss Mustafa, the secretary to the government of the Federation, by some ward executives in its Wadabawa ward. A letter addressed to Barata, signed by Ilyasu Muhammad and 26 others, mentioned various infractions allegedly committed by Barata, including his refusal to distribute food items donated by Binani Pyro to the governorship election, which held on March 18th. According to the letter, the resolution to suspend Barata was taken during the ward executive meeting of the party held in 2023. And away from politics, Osun State Command of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, has arrested 9 suspects for various offenses, vandalism, and for tampering with prepaid meter belonging to Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company, IBEDC. The Osun NSCDC boss, Commandant Agbola Sunday, revealed this to journalists in a press statement today. Commandant Sunday said the 9 suspects were caught in the act in their residence, noting that 8 were male and 1 female. He further explained that the suspects were arrested at Owode along Elisha Road in Osun State on the 28th of March at about 8 p.m. during a joint task force operation of the NSCDC Osun State Command and the IBEDC. He lamented that energy theft, vandalism, and other vices are major setbacks mitigating the development of the country. The Lagos State Police Command has begun investigation into the death of Kamibili-Chukwu, the son of popular actor Yul Edochie. It was gathered that Edochie had reported the death of his son to the police, and in the state's police public relations officer, SP Benjamin Ondane, who spoke with journalists, confirmed the development today, saying the matter will be forwarded to the State Criminal Investigation Department. 16-year-old Kamibili-Chukwu died yesterday morning after developing a seizure and was rushed to the Mother and Child Hospital in Lagos. Kamibili-Chukwu, who reportedly developed a seizure while playing football, which led to his death, died 2 months after Edochie celebrated his 16th birthday with his wife, Mary Edochie. The Ogun State Police Command has arrested Nigerian singer Habib Okikiola, commonly called Portable. The arrest comes after the expiration of a 72-hour ultimatum given to the singer by the police to report himself to the command. The Ogun State Police Command had earlier issued a 72-hour ultimatum for the sensational singer to report himself to the nearest police station or be arrested today. The State Police Public Relations Officer Abimbola Oyeyemi in a statement confirmed the invitation. Oyeyemi confirmed that Portable's father had pleaded on his son's behalf and promised to bring him to the station. The Ondo State Command of the Nigeria Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, said it had seized 228 kilograms of cannabis sativa, also known as Indian hemp. The anti-graft agency paraded the suspects Ayodele Osuya, who was allegedly arrested on Wednesday with the drug in the state capital. According to the state commander of the agency, Kayode Raji, men of the command had been on the trail of Osuya for a long time. Speaking at the command headquarters, he disclosed that the suspect concealed the Indian hemp in the booth of a Toyota Camry weighing 228 kilograms and worth multi-million naira. The NDLEA boss insisted that dealing and cultivating cannabis was not good for anybody, noting that it is evil. You're watching news at 7 on Western Spring Television. Still to come, Pope Francis is expected to be discharged from hospital tomorrow. We'll bring you more on this when we return. Please stay with us.
September 1923, named Harry Lee Kuan Yew, he was often addressed by his initials of LKY, Lee Kuan Yew, Prime Minister of Singapore between 1959 and 1990. Educated at Raffles Institution from 1936 to 1940 and the Fitzwilliam House between 1947 and 1949, Lee Kuan Yew established a highly effective and anti-corrupt governance system that midwifed the transformation of Singapore into a high net worth income economy within a generation. He never hid his exception to Western mode democratic ideal, which he believed had not assisted developing nations to attain good government. Before his death on 23rd March 2015, the People's Action Party, which he founded, had used its political influence to establish the United World College of Southeast Asia to expand his economic ideas among countries that constitute the Asian Tiger. Western Spring Television identifies Lee Kuan Yew as a major character in history. Prince Royal was born 6th of December 1910 at Raba Village, Sokoto, northwestern Nigeria. His father was a district head and heir apparent to the Sultanate throne from the house of Usmanu Danfodio, a religious and social reformer who brought the Habib dynasty under the Fulani Caliphate in the beginning of the 19th century. Ahmadu Bello raised the bar of political consciousness and participation when, in 1944, he engineered the establishment of the Northern People's Congress (NPC) as the first political party in northern Nigeria and the rallying point for politicians in the region before independence. History will not forget Ahmadu Bello for his charisma and political sagacity, which provided easy passage for his kinsmen to assume political and administrative positions in Nigeria's post-independence era. The distinguished elder statesman and Sardauna of Sokoto has his face on his country's 200 naira currency as a mark of honor to one of the architects of Nigeria's independence. Western Spring Television identifies Ahmadu Bello as a watershed character in history. The Berlin Conference of 1884 defined the configuration of Africa, which hitherto existed as a continent of multiple kingdoms and empires under native rulers. The conference, otherwise referred to as Congo Conference, regulated European colonization and trade in Africa as initiated by German leader Otto von Bismarck. The Berlin Conference is often called the scramble for and partitioning of Africa, as each of the imperial powers carved separate portions of the continent for themselves without recourse to racial and cultural identities and differences. 137 years after the Berlin Conference was held, Africa remains a legitimized playground for European nations that sought to exploit its wealth and resources and manipulate its human capital to promote trades and investments of Western powers. Western Spring Television identifies the Berlin Conference as a major event in history.
Welcome back. This is still news at 7 on Western Spring Television. A reminder of our headlines. ASU declares total indefinite strike action in Taraba State over workers' salaries. Governors elected on the platform of the APC have asked the DSS to arrest and prosecute those planning to install an interim government. Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Timi Silva, resigns to join Bayelsa gubernatorial race. On the foreign scene, Finland to become 31st member of NATO after Turkey's parliament voted to approve its application. In other news, the Nigeria Labour Congress NLC has expressed satisfaction with efforts geared towards increasing cash flow around the country following the nationwide scarcity occasioned by the Naira redesign and cash swap policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN. NLC President Joe Ajero revealed this today in an interview, stating that the union had been monitoring the intervention of the CBN and will follow up till money is totally circulated. The CBN last week directed all commercial banks to open for operation on Saturdays and Sundays, adding that banknotes had been evacuated from its vaults to commercial banks across the country. According to the Apex Bank, the directive was part of a coordinated effort to ease the circulation of banknotes of various denominations with a substantial amount of money in various denominations.
And we called our next meeting again and collected reports from all the states of the Federation. And it was substantial, the compliance was substantial. And we said, okay, we should, so that we don't burn our fingers, let's take another 2 weeks to watch whether the compliance will be sustainable. And that was exactly what happened. And we're on it now. On a daily basis, our people are moving around for the next 2 weeks. But let me say it here. The essence of giving an ultimatum is to ensure that you are giving the management or the employer the opportunity to respond, and to satisfy the conditions. And if the conditions are satisfied, there's no need, with such an action. So that's where we are.
The Federal Controller of Works, Lagos, Umar Bakari, has stated that the recent fuel scarcity and cash shortages were unforeseen factors that have stalled the completion of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Despite assurance by the Lagos state government last week to partner with the federal government to ease the situation, especially around the Kara Bridge Bega Opik axis, motorists have lamented the supposed slow pace at which work is taking place, which has led to gridlock. Mr. Bakari, in an interview today, revealed that they were on course to complete the road project, but the CBN's monetary policies as well as the fuel scarcity were responsible for the slow pace. The controller also revealed that he was optimistic the inconveniences motorists were experiencing on the highway will reduce in April for the partial completion.
Which is for us to deliver from 7 up, which is the 00, for section 1 of the project up to Shagamu Interchange to deliver the main carriageway from 7 up to Shagamu. We hope we had earlier promised to deliver by the end of this quarter, but we did not envisage the fuel shortage issue that affected the progress of work, the cash swap issue that affected the progress of work at some point. This time around, we're looking at end of April, give or take, amongst other things, like the weather is quite fair to us as at this time.
Road users have been admonished to be cautious and careful to avoid traffic collision while driving. In this report, Olayinka Ali spoke with some road users on how to avoid traffic collisions.
A collision, also called a motor vehicle collision, occurs when a vehicle collides with another vehicle, pedestrian, animal, road debris, or other moving or stationary obstructions such as a tree, pole, or building. Traffic collisions often result in injury, disability, death, and property damage, as well as financial cost to both society and the individuals involved. A number of factors contribute to the risk of collisions, like speed of operation, road design, weather, road environment, driving skills, impairments due to alcohol or drugs, aggressive and distracted driving, disobeying traffic lights, and so on. Overspeeding is the primary cause of vehicle collision, especially on highways. On Thursday, March 30th, 2023, there was pandemonium in the Olaya axis of Oshogbo as a van conveying prisoners to court hit an intracity minibus popularly called Kurope. Findings showed that the correctional van attempted to maneuver and avoid the traffic light when it rammed into the minibus and it hit. A motorist, Taiwo Balogun, who spoke in Yoruba language, has advised other road users to be very vigilant and not be in a rush to drive.
So, nǹkan tẹ́mi kàn fẹ́ advice àwọn èèyàn ní kékeré ni wípé tá bá fẹ́ cross níbi Ọláìyá under bridge yìí wípé kẹ́nbọ̀dì kó máa wà fẹ́rí káwọn máa kánjú kọjá wípé bóyá iná ti because iná yẹn tó bá máa fún yàn ní warning á ti tan yellow yẹn kó tó di pé ó tan green tó bá ti tan yellow ká make sure pé a ti dúró.
Aminu Fatai, a motorcycle rider who also prefers to speak in Yoruba language, pleaded with the Osun State government to ensure that the traffic officers are always on standby on the road, especially under the Olaya Bridge, so that they can guide road users.
Ohun tẹ̀mí wo tí ìjọba lè ṣe kí àwọn ìjọba kí wọ́n jọ àbẹ̀ wọn kí wọ́n bá wa dá àwọn traffic padà síbẹ̀ sódìyẹ kí wọ́n fi yé àwọn èèyàn ibi tó yẹ kí wọ́n mọ̀ gbà ibi tó yẹ kí wọ́n mọ̀ gbà àwọn traffic yìí ó lè mọ̀ sọ fún wọn. Sẹ́kẹ́tì mi nǹkan tẹ̀mí kàn rí nìyẹn tí wọ́n lè solution tí wọ́n lè ṣe sí.
Emmanuel Adebisi is a road user who also appealed to all the residents to be conscious and courteous while driving on the road.
To be conscious and to be cautious because the light has been here and each light shows when to take off and when to stop. Like when it shows red, that means we need to stop, and when it shows green, that means we need to stop.
Comrade Bamidele Adigun thereafter admonished road users, especially public officers, to be patient while driving.
The solution is not far-fetched, and it is being double-legged. One, the public officers who use road must be as patient as those who are not public users of the road.
According to the Federal Road Safety Corps, 81 persons were killed and 244 others injured in 313 road accidents that occurred in Osun State between January and November 2022. Olayinka Ali, Western Spring Television News.
And on the foreign scene, Finland will become the 31st member of NATO after Turkey's parliament voted to approve its application. Turkey had delayed Finland's bid to join the West Defensive Alliance for months, complaining the Nordic nation was supporting terrorists. Sweden, which applied to join NATO at the same time last May, is still being blocked by Ankara over similar complaints. Finland will now be formally admitted into NATO at its next summit taking place in July in Lithuania. In a statement following the Turkish vote, the Finnish government said joining the alliance will strengthen the country's security and improve stability and security in the region. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan gave his approval to Finland's bid earlier this month, praising the country's authentic and concrete steps on Turkish security. Elsewhere, the Vatican has said Pope Francis is expected to be discharged from hospital tomorrow, adding that his return to his Vatican residence at Santa Marta depended on the results of final tests carried out today. The Pope was admitted to Gemelli Hospital in Rome on Wednesday with breathing difficulties, but was later diagnosed as having bronchitis. Although the Vatican said he had responded well to antibiotics, his admission to hospital came ahead of the busiest time in his annual schedule, with events and services scheduled throughout Easter week. The Vatican has revealed the presence of the Pope is now expected in St. Peter's Square for Palm Sunday Mass this weekend. In Asia, a stampede at a Ramadan food distribution center in Pakistan's southern city of Karachi has killed at least 11 people, all women and children. According to police and rescue officials, several others were also injured in the incident today, which happened when hundreds of people panicked and started pushing each other to collect food outside a factory. Pakistan's Foreign Minister Bilawal Zardari ordered authorities to investigate what caused the incident. It is the deadliest stampede at Ramadan food distribution points since the start of the Muslim holy month of fasting last week. With the latest incident, the death toll from stampedes at free food centers across the country has risen to at least 19 since the start of Ramadan. Cash-strapped Pakistan faces one of the worst economic crises of its history, with millions of people struggling to put food on the table amid a deepening cost of living crisis. At least 35 people have been killed and more than a dozen others injured in central India after the covering of a temple well collapsed and people fell inside. The incident occurred as devotees gathered at a temple in Indore to celebrate the Hindu festival of Ram Navami. Indore's district magistrate told journalists today that 18 people have been rescued, while 35 have been found dead and 16 are injured. Nearly 140 rescuers used ropes and ladders to pull up the bodies from the well after pumping out the water. Police Commissioner Makrand Deuskar said dozens of people had fallen into the well in the temple complex and were covered by falling debris. In the United States, Donald Trump's lawyer has said the ex-president's legal team has not seen the indictment against him and has only media reports to go on. Joe Tacopina was speaking after a grand jury voted to indict Mr. Trump in connection with a $130,000 payout to porn star Stormy Daniels. Mr. Tacopina told CBS that Mr. Trump's legal team did not know about the indictment until yesterday evening, blaming political persecutions for the grand jury's decision. Mr. Trump is expected to appear in court to face the charges and enter a plea in New York. It's reportedly next Tuesday. And still ahead, Italy becomes the first Western country to block advanced chatbot. We have more on this and other business stories after the break. Please stay with us.
dramatist, playwright, and icon of Yoruba thematic arts. Duro Ladipo was born December 18, 1931 in Osogbo, southwest Nigeria. His clergyman father christened him Timothy. His other names, Duro Dola, Duro Shomo, Duro Rike, reflected his personal and the circumstances that surrounded his birth. The legendary stage actor had in several public fora identified himself as one of the greatest abikus born to die in this world. Family records reveal how he was born and died 13 times. The intertwining names he bore thus lent credence to his spiritism. Duro Ladipo was one of the best known and world-acclaimed Yoruba dramatists to emerge from post-colonial Africa. His notable works, Obakoso, Obawaja, and Morimi, took him beyond Africa to several parts of the world. By the time Duro Ladipo died on 11 March 1978, Nigeria's first cultural ambassador had acquired a towering image as an artist whose works adorned the frontage of Trenchard Hall, University of Ibadan. Western Spring Television identifies Duro Ladipo as a major character in history. Fumilayo Ransom Kuti was an educationist and advocate of women's rights. She was recognized for her vitriolic comments against colonial policy of taxation as it affected the Nigerian women. Bere, as fondly addressed by her women followers, Fumilayo championed the initiation of universal adult suffrage, which gave an unprecedented leeway for women to contest elective offices and power to exercise voting rights. Married to a foremost educationist and teacher, Israel Oladotun Ransom Kuti, the first president of Nigeria Union of Teachers, Fumilayo Ransom Kuti was the mother of children who inherited her spirit of activism. Olufela and Be Ololari, the former, a renowned musical legend. She was the first female student of Abeokuta Grammar School and the first female to own and drive a car in Nigeria. The award recipient of Member of Order of Nigeria MON and Lenin Peace Prize, was born 25th October 1900 and was killed on 13th April 1978 by rampaging road soldiers in Lagos. Western Spring Television identifies Fumilayo Ransom Kuti as a watershed character in history. Olayinka Herbert Macaulay, politician, nationalist, and journalist, was the first Nigerian to qualify as a civil engineer, surveyor, and architect. Born on November 14, 1864, Herbert Macaulay was the founder of Nigeria's National Democratic Party, the first political party in pre-independent Nigeria. Scholars of Nigeria's political history describe Herbert Macaulay as the intellectual bulldog of 19th century Nigerian nationalist movement, in the deference to his qualities as founder and leader of two foremost political parties, Nigeria National Democratic Party (NNDP) and National Council of Nigerian Citizens (NCNC). His matchless versatility in party organization and control kept the British colonialists on their toes in the entire span of his active life. After his death on 7th May 1946, Herbert Macaulay remains a hero of his country, which recognized his anti-colonial struggles. Today, Nigeria's 10 naira coin bears his oval face and trademark moustache. Western Spring Television identifies Herbert Macaulay as a major character in history.
From the United States again. In the United States, Donald Trump's lawyer has said the ex-president's legal team has not seen the indictment against him and has only media reports to go on. Joe Tacopina was speaking after a grand jury voted to indict Mr. Trump in connection with a $130,000 payout to porn star Stormy Daniels. Mr. Tacopina told CBS that Mr. Trump's legal team did not know about the indictment until yesterday evening, blaming political persecutions for the grand jury's decision. Mr. Trump is expected to appear in court to face the charges and enter a plea in New York. reportedly next Tuesday.
A grand jury has voted to indict former U.S. President Donald Trump after investigating a $130,000 payout to Stormy Daniels in an attempt to buy her silence over an alleged affair. The 76-year-old denies wrongdoing as he is the first serving of former U.S. President to face a criminal charge. The Office of the Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, who has been pursuing the investigation, confirms that it had contacted Mr. Trump's attorney to coordinate his surrender.
This evening, we contacted Mr. Trump's attorney to coordinate his surrender to the Manhattan District Attorney's Office for arraignment on a Supreme Court indictment, which remains under seal. Guidance will be provided when the arraignment date is selected.
Mr. Trump is being investigated in several other cases, including probes into his role in the U.S. Capitol riot of January 2021, his efforts to overturn his loss in the state of Georgia in the 2020 election, and his handling of classified documents after leaving office. In total, he faces more than 30 count charges related to business fraud. The ex-president, who lives in Florida, is expected to fly to New York on Monday and be arraigned in court on Tuesday. The charges in the indictment will be read to him at the hearing, which is set to last about 10 to 15 minutes. Meanwhile, in 2016, adult film star Stormy Daniels contacted media outlets offering to sell her account of what she said was an adulterous affair she had with Donald Trump in 2006, the year after he married his current wife, Melania. Mr. Trump's team got wind of this, and his lawyer, Michael Cohen, paid $130,000 to Ms. Daniels to keep quiet. According to reports, this is not illegal. However, when Mr. Trump reimbursed his lawyer, the record for the payment says it was for legal fees. Prosecutors say this amounts to Mr. Trump falsifying business records, which is a misdemeanor, a criminal offense in New York. Prosecutors could also potentially allege that this breaks election law because his attempts to hide his payments to Ms. Daniels were motivated by his efforts to conceal his affair from his voters. As such, covering up a crime by falsifying records would be a felony, which is a more serious charge. Advocates for prosecution acknowledge that either way, this is by no means a clear-cut case. In a statement, Mr. Trump lashed out at the Manhattan District Attorney, where he called the prosecutor a disgrace and accused him of doing Joe Biden's dirty work. On his part, Mr. Bragg, who is a registered Democrat, has denied pursuing a political vendetta against Mr. Trump, who tweeted that the cases in their jurisdiction are evaluated based on the facts, the law, and the evidence. Mr. Trump's lawyer, Susan Nichols, said in a statement Mr. Trump did not commit any crime, saying they will vigorously fight the political prosecution in court.
They cannot point to any case where a corporation has been prosecuted based on a few individuals in the corporation who allegedly on their personal tax return made a mistake or did not pick up fringe benefits on their personal tax return.
Mr. Trump, who served as president from 2017 to 2021, was twice impeached by the House of Representatives. He was acquitted by the Senate both times. Temitekbe Ajijola Oluwola, Western Spring Television.
And now to some business stories. Italy has become the first Western country to block advanced chatbot ChatGTP. The Italian Data Protection Authority said there were privacy concerns relating to the model, which was created by U.S. startup Opinia and is backed by Microsoft. The regulators said it will ban and investigate Opinia with immediate effect. Millions of people have used ChatGTP since it launched in November 2022. It can answer questions using natural, human-like language, and it can also mimic other writing styles using the internet as it was in 2021 as its database. There have been concerns over the potential risk of artificial intelligence, including its threats to jobs and the spreading of misinformation and bias. A lawsuit has been filed against Google to seek £3.4 billion in compensation for publishers for lost revenue. The claim by ex-Guardian technology editor Charles Arthur alleges Google unlawfully used a dominant position in online adverts in a way that reduced what publishers could make from them. Google said it will fight what it described as speculative and opportunistic action vigorously. It is the second such lawsuit after a similar case was launched in November. Online display advertising is the main source of income for many web stars. And the exciting world of sports, Oscar Pistorius, the former Paralympian who murdered his girlfriend Riva Steckenkamp in 2013, has been denied parole in South Africa. The 36-year-old had been seeking early release 10 years after the Valentine's Day shooting. Ms. Steckenkamp's mother, who appeared before the parole board, said she opposed his release as she felt Pistorius was not remorseful. The prison authorities said the matter will be considered again next year. Vice President Rafael Yuste has said Barcelona are in contact with Lionel Messi about returning to the club. The 35-year-old Argentina forward is Barcelona's all-time top scorer with 672 goals in 778 games and left the Camp Nou for financial reasons in 2021. His 2-year contract with Paris Saint-Germain expires this summer, and his preference is thought to be staying with the French club. Messi agreed a new deal with Barcelona on reduced wages 2 years ago, but it was dependent on the club selling players following new financial rules. Russian and Belarusian players will be able to compete at Wimbledon this summer after the All England club lifted the ban it imposed last year. The players will be able to feature this year, subject to competing as neutral athletes and complying with certain conditions. They were banned in response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the support provided by Belarus. Wimbledon starts this year on the 3rd of July at the All England club. The decision also covers other British events held in the run-up to Wimbledon, most notably the tournaments at Queen's and Eastbourne. That's all at this hour, but before we go, here is a recap of our major stories. The Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, Taraba State University chapter, has declared a total, comprehensive and indefinite strike action. Governors elected on the platform of the All Progressive Congress, APC, have asked the Department of State Services, DSS, to arrest and prosecute those planning to install an interim government. The Special Assistant to the President on Digital Communications, Bashir Ahmad, has confirmed the resignation of the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Temipre Silva. And on the foreign scene, Finland will become the 31st member of NATO after Turkey's parliament voted to approve its application. Please do follow us on our social media handles on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Western Spring Television. You can also watch us live on our YouTube channel at Western Spring Television. I am Tunde Ido. Do have yourself a splendid weekend.